Thank you so much, Howard, for coming on and joining us today.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Well, this is a treat to have him. And the reason we have him today is, well, he's one of the smartest people I know. He knows these contracts in and out. I've learned everything I know about contracts from Howard. I actually had a brokerage before I came to Keller Williams as an independent, and I was a broker there, but I really didn't learn anything until I came to learn from Howard. So happy to have him here. And we are going to be talking today about buyer challenges. And we've got some really fun stories that are going to be told to us today. And Howard's going to kind of help us facilitate that. And if you guys have any questions, he's going to be able to try and help answer that the best he possibly can. And we're going to start, as we have up here, Natalie Turnquist, you're in Punta Gorda, right, Natalie?
Yes.
Well, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. So the way we're going to structure this is what we're going to do is we're going to allow them to tell their story of what's happened. And then they're not going to finish their story. We're actually going to have a poll put up. And in that poll, you're going to have a chance to select what you think the turnout of their story is going to be. And then we're going to ask that them to go ahead and tell us what happened. So that's how it will be structured. Again, we're just going to let them tell their story. We'll put a poll up and then they'll finish telling us. And then we're going to have 5 people that are going to share stories with us today. So I hope this is something you'll enjoy and something you'll actually learn from as well. Howard, do you have anything you want to add?
No. I mean, I just know we're in in the 28 years I've been doing this, the most challenging time we've ever been in the market working with buyers. So I know this is going to be educational for everybody, because I think I've done this a long time and broker for 4 of our offices and have a lot of transactions that come across my desk. And I still see something unique and different every single day. So I'm sure today's going to be no different.
My goal is for not to be coming across your desk unless it's to ask you to come on a call like this.
Yes, I gotcha.
All right. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. Natalie, I'm going to turn this over to you and let you go ahead and tell us your story. And again, we're going to ask that you pause before you tell us the conclusion of your story, and we'll go ahead and put a poll up, okay?
Got it. All right. So I had been working with a couple out of Colorado as their agent, and I've been working with them for about 3 weeks or so. And all of a sudden, the wife calls me and asks me if I would be willing to give back 25% of my commission at closing. And in order for me to continue working with her. And she said, because she had another agent that reached out to them, because I guess a lender had given their information to some agents. And so agents were hitting her up and asking if they would be willing to work with them, and that they would be willing to give them 25% of their commission at the closing table. So she asked me, like, I want to give you this opportunity because you've been working with us for so long and we really like you. However, if you can't do this, then we're gonna choose to go with the other agent. So, and this was $1 million deal, it was a $1.2 million deal.
How'd that make you feel?
Well, I was really upset. I actually did not so if I don't, I should pause because I'll end up telling more. So, but it made me feel like, I was like, oh my goodness, that's like totally degrades us as real estate agents. And I work really hard, and I felt like this was not fair. And it's kind of like asking them, what the husband is a plumber. And I felt like it was the same situation of me coming up to him and him coming in to do work on my house. And I say, hey, will you do a plumbing job on my house? However, will you give me, $3,000 back for all that work you just did on my house? You know what I mean? Like, I felt like at that point, I was like, well, what kind of service are you going to be really getting from these agents that are willing to give you 25% back at closing? So I was that happy.
Give me 1 second. I got your poll almost ready to go up, so I'm just going to go ahead and.
So Ryan, let me ask Natalie a question. Natalie, did you have a exclusive buyer brokerage agreement signed with these buyers?
Nope, not at that moment.
And my assumption too is the lender that gave them the other agent's information is not a lender that you referred them to.
Correct.
Got it. Just wondering on both those counts. Yeah.
Mhm.
All right, so go ahead and launch this poll, see what everybody thinks. The poll should be active now for everybody to go ahead and participate in. So give it just a minute here and then we'll go ahead and let her finish. All right, we're starting to get some votes. We got 65 people on here. We should be able to get quite a few votes in here. Howard, that's a key question. I had that actually happen to me once with a buyer that was actually a referral from a past client, and their referral ended up working with Rocket Mortgage, who then turned around and referred them to an agent that they use, which I ended up losing them, which is key why we have Keller Mortgage. We can kind of keep that close relationship with them.
Well, and it makes you think about when you're doing the buyer consultation to pre-warn a buyer that this could happen in the process, almost put it on the table in some ways, just so that they understand, what's out there.
If they give the clients a discount if they work with their
I'm
chosen.
not even saying not necessarily give them a discount, but I'm just saying that there'll be offers made to them, but they're usually attached to subpar agents.
I just want to keep it in family.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, we're going to go ahead and end the poll now. And it's pretty overwhelming that you asked the buyers if they plan to give their 25% of their salary. So let's see what the actual answer is. So Natalie, what happened?
So what happened is I called my broker because I thought there were some ethic issues here, and I've never heard of this happening. So I called my broker, and my broker told me, well, Natalie, if you want skin in the game and get the experience, I would go on ahead and match that and take the deal and offer that same incentive.
So did you do that?
I did. And since then, I've written 5 contracts. They've canceled on 3, and now 2 are currently pending. They literally have been the most difficult, most challenging. I have spent endless hours, endless mileage, and I've been pretty bitter about it. And I've been kind of like, I still believe, I still have really strong work ethics. And at first I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to give them a discount service because they're paying me at a discount rate. I was really frustrated. So, but I'm not that person. So I honestly have been working my tail off for these guys, going above and beyond. And like I said, I did do an exclusive buyer's agreement after that. I had them sign it. And I told them that, that this is only for that, but for this particular, for you guys only, that this is not a deal that I do with anybody else, so that they can't refer all their friends and family to me saying, hey, if you work with Natalie, she's so cool, she'll give you 25% back at closing. And that the deal was only for a total of 3 transactions that I would get that 25% back commission. So, and like I said, I've written 5 contracts, and 3 of them they've canceled on me. And literally like the 20th day, I've had to get my broker involved with that because, the listing agent on the other side didn't want to give them back their escrow because of the timeframes and deadlines and this and that. And they actually even got their bank to get out of one of the contracts and to get their full escrow back. They were able to get their bank to write a letter saying that they were denied their loan because of their credit score. And this was literally after the listing agent had already received the clear to close from the bank 2 days before that. And then they got their bank to write a letter saying that they were denied due to their credit score so they can get their escrow back because they were going to lose it. And I was kind of hoping they would lose it because I'm like, how does it feel to lose all your money? But yeah, so I'm still working with them actually to this day. So I've got until July before our contracts are finally done or our transactions are completed.
I wish you luck. And I know that Brett said you had a lot of energy and he wasn't lying.
I do. And I share it with her too. She's my twin.
Yep, we're going to get into her next, but I wanted to make sure that if anybody had any questions, if you want to go ahead and put it in the chat right now, feel free to do that, and we will try and get them answered by Natalie. This is again on what Natalie's question.
Well, there is one question that Brad's asking, was it worth it? And you know, that's the other thing we've got to think about is like, what is our dollar per hour, you know, what are we worth dollar per hour, number one? Because I think sometimes we are not fair to ourselves in that process as far as the amount of time, Natalie, that you're putting into those clients. And yeah, I see, yeah, I know you haven't gotten paid. And like I said, Ryan, what I want to bring forward is like the value of that buyer consultation. And yes, you definitely want to have a buyer exclusive buyer brokerage agreement signed at the consultation. But I'd almost put it on the table and say, you're going to have offers for this. This is going to come about. You know, we're in a different type of market. And like you just said, Natalie, you said, well, I wanted to, give them discount service. I think one of the things you bring forward though, too, is when you work with a discount broker, you get a discount service. Or when you're in the listing side, when you list with a discount broker, you take away a discount bottom line. So I would use that in the terminology you have when you have working with clients.
Mhm. I agree.
I think that buyer consultation is extremely important too, because of the fact that you can set all expectations up front. And if you use the technology that we do have with our mobile app and the e-signing service, it's a great opportunity for you to sit there and get that document signed right up front, and also share the app with them so they can communicate with you in that and kind of show some value there. If they like going through the buyer guide, that's very helpful if you use it.
Well, and the KW buyer disclosure agreement, if you've got one of those that you use in your market centers, and I don't know how you're all set up, we have it in ours, and agency, your transaction brokerage versus single agency. If you group that together with the EBBA, a lot of times it's an easier sell when you're doing those all together.
All right. Thank you so much, Natalie, for joining us. I'm going to have your sister now, who is your twin sister, I guess. You kind of look like.
Good morning. So my name's Jennifer, and I'm Natalie's twin sister. Thanks for having us. This is fun. This is cool. But so I'm fairly new to the game. I've been a realtor since January, and I had a listing, and went under contract within 15 days. And we had a really great offer. They put in 20,000 over asking. So we took it, we accepted it. And went through the whole process, got almost to closing before we found out that financing proof of funds wasn't going to be qualified. They couldn't come up with enough proof of funds. So the buyer agent was struggling, trying to find ways. We reduced the price by $6,000 to try to get them more qualified. Still was coming up short. So the buyer agent reached out to me and asked for us all to pitch in and try to compensate for the lack of funds that the buyers didn't have. So the buyer agent came to me and asked me to give in $2,000. He asked and said as well, he would match it with $2,000 put in towards closing costs. And then he also asked the lender if the lender would contribute $1,000 to the closing costs to help close the deal at the closing table. So I'm going to pause right there because that's the extent of that before I move forward and tell you what happened. But so that was my situation. Yeah, I had a buyer agent. It's not what you can do for your buyer, but what can you do for your buyer's agent to close the deal?
How did that make you feel?
Well, considering my circumstances were a little different from his, before I can tell you more of the story, I really wanted to make this happen. So I was trying to do my best to try to help make this happen and close the deal. First, it was my first closing, so I really wanted it to be successful. But there were some other circumstances behind the scene that the buyer agent wasn't aware of. So I'm going to pause right there so that way I can tell you more about it before I tell you what happened. So.
Okay, we'll go ahead and launch the poll here. Everybody, here's Jennifer's question. So if you can go ahead and put what you think happened, and we'll let her explain.
Hey Ryan, we need some Jeopardy music. Do you want me to just hum along or?
I don't want it to be that long. I
Ding,
don't want it to
ding,
go too
ding.
long.
Dun, dun,
Dun,
dun,
dun,
dun.
dun.
They can take care of it. You weren't lying, Brett. He was like, just a warning, they got a lot of energy.
And right now we're kind of nervous, so we're actually kind of quiet.
Yeah.
We're timid right now because her and I are both like, when the spotlight's not on us, it gets a little more wild. But now that the spotlight's on us, we're trying to behave.
All right, so we're gonna end this poll. It's very overwhelming. You can see the answer is sure, they're my customers and you gave some. So why don't you go ahead and explain what happened?
Okay, so what happened was, I did offer to give up $500 of my own commission. What happened was, so in my brokerage, we don't offer a reduced co-broker fee. So when my seller was offering to only pay 5.5% commission, I took the reduction. So I offered a 3% co-broker fee to the buyer while I took a 2.5%, and he didn't know that. So when he reached out to me, I said, I will offer to give $500 on my commission, because what you don't understand is I was just completely transparent with him. I said, I'm already taking a hit off the top more than you are already. So honestly, I'm already giving up, $2,500 on my commission. And so he was very apologetic after he heard that. He didn't realize, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And when it was all said and done, we were just pulling in too many different ways, and the sellers were going to be the buyers were going to be pretty strapped. So we canceled and released the contract. And then my seller didn't want to release escrow. So it turned into a huge debacle because he thought everybody lied to him and strung him along about proof of funds. So anyways, long story short, we just ended up canceling the deal. But in my brokerage, we don't, if there's a reduction in the commission, it's not 6%, then we take a hit on our side, because we want to make sure that we're offering a good co-broker fee. So unfortunately, we're back on the market. Anybody want to buy a house in Sarasota? You get 3% commission. Yeah, you get, yeah. Don't ask me to give up my commission though. I already am.
All right, anybody have any questions for Jennifer?
Which one's the older one?
How many?
Sorry,
seconds?
Howard.
12 minutes, seriously.
No, I was just going to say, I just think it's interesting, in my markets, which is Tampa Bay and Brevard County, we don't have the sellers doing, the sellers market is so strong in our areas that sellers aren't, Ron, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't see any concessions being made. They're like, if you can't make it work, there's 20 buyers behind you waiting for the next one. So it's interesting that in their market, there's still things like that happening.
Yeah, the last one I had on recently was 36 offers on it, and 4 of them were cash buyers. It was just like,
Yeah.
If you want us to fix something, it's okay. We'll go to the next one. We don't have to fix anything.
Yeah,
All right,
we're both
so-
like, wow, welcome to real estate. This has been a nice intro. High five, Nat. Woo.
I want to thank you guys very much for coming on and bringing some energy. Okay.
Thank you.
Stick around though. You don't have to go anywhere. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to bring up next Mr. Doug. Doug Campbell. There you are. I'm going to add you. Welcome, Doug. And Howard, he should be a little bit familiar to you, right?
Just a tad.
Doug is an amazing human being and very interesting.
Gwen's more amazing, but go ahead.
Gwen is the amazing one. I'm just here.
She is pretty amazing.
How do you follow those two? Holy cow.
You got to bring a lot more energy.
That's not me. Sorry.
Doug, here's the.
Rub it
here's-
in, women.
yeah, here's
Rub
the
it
trophy,
in.
buddy. Ah.
He smoked us in the fantasy football league.
I'm
I
surprised.
lost 5 out of 6
surprised.
games to
He's so
him. and
busy
Jesse.
fishing all the time. All right, Doug.
Okay, this is a combination seller buyer issue. We have first time home buyers. She's going to have a baby this summer. They found a house exactly where they wanted it. They loved the location. The house is nice. It's on a kind of busy street, but not super busy. They put in an offer, and the house has been on the market 16 days. So in our area, that's forever. And the seller accepted it. So we went through all the inspections. He had his father come down. His father's a builder, so he looked at the place. He said the bones on this house are really good. It's an elderly couple, so maintenance and housekeeping were not their strong suits. So we've got all the inspections. The inspection period is over. And then about 2 weeks after the inspection period was over, the seller calls us directly and says, I changed my mind. I'm not selling the house. So these kids have a couple $1,000s into the house already. They got a $10,000 concession from the seller already because of the repairs that needed to be done. So the listing agent got really ticked off, and he was doing a lot of bluffing and bluster, and he went to his broker, and they were going to write a pretty strong letter to the seller and deliver it by registered mail, threatening them with, we had a contract, we fulfilled our contract, you're going to have to pay us commission. You're going to have to reimburse the buyer for all his expenses. And we don't know if the buyer is even willing to let you release the contract. You want me to stop there, Ryan, or you want me to tell you what we
Stop right
did?
there.
Okay.
So here's the poll. What did Doug and Gwen do to help out their buyers? Doug, you got your music? You want to give it a try?
You ready?
Go for it.
Okay. So Gwen and
Oh, I
I
thought you were gonna
talked,
sing for us.
say
I thought you were
again?
gonna sing for us.
Din,
Oh, no, I'm not gonna sing for it. Trust me, you don't want that.
Dun, dun, dun.
I like those two. They're great.
They got enough energy for all of us.
We share.
All right, Doug, go for it. You can see
Okay.
the poll.
So we
Pretty
talked to the
unanimous.
buyers, and the buyer said, yeah, we still want the house. So Gwen got together and she wrote a letter to the broker, to the listing broker, explaining this is a young couple. They're excited about the house. They want to take care of the house. They know it's got issues. They're going to take care of all the issues. And it's too late for them. It's too late for them to go through another mortgage. They were already locked in, and rates had gone up 2 full points since they got locked in. So this is going to have a long-term financial effect on them for the next 20 or 30 years. So we relayed that to the listing agent. He decided to use Gwen's letter that she sent to him entirely and did not send their threatening letter. About 3 weeks after that, we got a call from the seller directly saying, I changed my mind. I'm going to sell the house. I'm going to go through with the transaction.
Good deal.
So instead of clubbing them with legal action and threats and intimidation, we just explained how much damage this would do to the buyers.
Very smart decision. Most people agreed with you. You got about 65% on that poll for that one. My question is, who are the 3 people who are going to go TP this person's house?
Those two.
That's right. Yeah.
I'll be the TP holder, the TPer.
It'd be so much fun.
They won't know who did it.
Yeah.
They won't.
You'd be like,
All right. So, I mean, being level-headed and just showing the facts is pretty strong case, right, Howard?
Yeah, and what I was going to say was it's great that that worked for them. Many times it doesn't, because what's happening in the market today is we've got so many people acting in haste. They're buying things hastily. People are selling. Ooh, I've got on second day. They sell hastily. Then they have seller's remorse, right? Not buyer's remorse. So what I usually will tell our agents is, yes, to do what Doug and Gwen did first. If that works, great, which in their case it did. If not, then they sometimes have to have an attorney write a letter threatening legal action, and then that hopefully will work. And then they can, the contract does call for specific performance. If something like that happens, the buyer seller can do that, but no one wins with that. It's thousands and thousands of dollars. And quite honestly, in my 28 years of doing this, I've never seen a lawsuit go through and say, have a court go, you have to sell your house. However, like I said, these contracts are contracts. They're not just pieces of paper. And I think sometimes people don't understand what they're signing. And with the velocity of the market right now, I think that people are acting more in haste than they ever have before.
And now
thank
let me add a little bit more to that.
Okay.
The house didn't appraise. So the seller is probably not going to come down any further. And we don't think the buyers are going to go for it. So it's probably going to fall apart anyway.
That's a shame.
Sorry to hear that. Sorry to hear that. Well, if you have any changes to that where it gets updated, let us know. Love to share it with everybody.
Sure will.
I surely do hope something happens where you guys can save it, but hate hearing that. Thank you for sharing, Doug. I hope somebody on this call learned something from that. All right, so I'm going to go to Mr. Mark Wimmer, who he is not fishing right now, so we're lucky enough to catch him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So the market that I work in is primarily luxury waterfront homes, and the competition is just insane right now. It's crazy. So what happens is the listings hit the market Thursday night or Friday morning. No showings are allowed until the Saturday open house and the Sunday open house, and then the offers are reviewed on Monday. That's typically how it goes. So and when we're dealing with these properties, we're dealing with there's a short demand and there's a similar pool of buyers. There are people who are bidding on the same houses week after week. So my people 2 weeks before had bid $175,000 over ask, 5-day inspection, close any day you want, and we got beat. Yeah, that's what the market is out here. So we went in, we went to the open house, we prepared our offer, and we came in strong because we knew, of course, that we were going to be in tough competition. And the unusual part of this one was the sellers, not my listing, are quite elderly, so they remained in the home during the open houses and during the showings, which is, strange enough as it is. And then they would converse with the prospective buyers on the way through. So these people would get the opinion that they were forming some sort of a relationship with the seller and that their offer would be warmly greeted. So we went ahead, we did the offer. Monday came, there's a counter, of course, and we ended up getting our offer accepted. And then Tuesday, we were doing the inspection. Inspectors on site, sellers, of course, are on site, which is never good. You never want the sellers to be at an inspection, but you don't want them at the open house either. So here we go. And I'm standing in the garage with the sellers and with the inspectors because I had to go over there and let the inspector in because there's no Supra because they are elderly and didn't want a Supra. So here we're all standing. A car pulled up, and it was one of the competing buyers who I didn't represent him, but he recognized me because I had been working an open house a couple of weeks before in the same neighborhood on a property that he was also interested in. So he came up, he walked into the garage uninvited, illegally, and started talking to the sellers about how couldn't you accept my offer? My offer was so good. What went on here? How, was there collusion, between the buyer's agent and seller's agent? So we'll put it up for votes.
Here's what did Mark do? Here's your poll. Go ahead and answer.
That's so funny. He did want my card, and I gave it to him.
Did you give him Howard's card?
No. Sing.
Go ahead, Mark. Go for it.
I thought we're gonna have the girls sing. No, okay.
I thought we gave them
All
one
right,
job.
so what I did was, I informed him that I didn't represent him, that he had his own buyer's agent, and if he had questions about the offer and the contract and everything, that he really should speak with his own agent and not me, who does not represent him. And I asked him, since he was there without an agent or without appointment, if he could please leave.
So it looks like everybody guessed the same thing because we had 82% of the poll choose that. What did you learn from that situation, Mark?
Well, the garage door when you're at an inspection. No, it just don't. It was a unique set of circumstances that just were really odd, because the sellers were there. The person had felt that he had earned the right to buy the house because he had talked to the sellers, and it just was it was a unique circumstance. And what I also did right away was call the listing agent, because I wanted the listing agent to be aware that there was a problem. And so the listing agent dropped everything she was doing and ran right over and talked to the sellers and assured them that there was no inappropriate behavior, and that everything was good.
Howard, do you want to add anything to that?
I'm not really. I think that Mark handled the very, very best way he can. It's a unique situation with the sellers being there and all the different stuff that happened. And I think we're just, again, because of the uniqueness of the market that we're right now, we're dealing with things that I've never seen before, with people doing things that brazen, if you will, in the marketplace. But I think Mark handled it beautifully.
Talked to a lot of agents, and this isn't the first time I've heard that story that Mark gave. So I thought it was important for that story to get told, because what do you do? I mean, somebody just runs up on you and starts accusing you of colluding and that you did something wrong, but it's just
and I see more and more situations right now where, like, buyers are going directly to sellers, when they're like, did you see my offer? Was that shown to you? Did you know, they're very desperate. So I would educate the seller that could happen. I think the more with a lot of these stories, it's like, hey, if you kind of, shoot, what do they say? Head it off at the pass, make sure that they know, like, hey, we're in a market right now where people are crazy. And, when you get 35 offers on a property, which happens every single day here in our market, that it's very possible that a buyer could come directly to you. So here's how I want you to handle it, and advise them on that.
Exactly. I think sometimes I've had people in the past say they don't want to sign in their yard. And I think this is a perfect reason for me to be able to tell them, you want to sign in your yard. That way they know who to call, not come bug you. At least it kind of steers them off.
And another agent can't cross the sign, so it's a good defensive mechanism for you for having someone solicit your listings.
Yep. Thank you again, Mark. I really appreciate it.
Okay.
Again, I want to know who the two people are who started the TikTok video. That'd be interesting one to see. Don't do that. Don't do a TikTok video right in your listing. Not if somebody's attacking you. All right. I'll stop sharing this one. And again, Mark, very appreciative. You can go back to fishing now. Appreciate it. All right. Now we've got Andy Moore is going to come and join us. And Andy, I've got yours prepared as well. So thank you for coming on. And if you want to go ahead and tell us a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and what your story is. And I love your post on the back. That's awesome.
Thank you.
I can hear you. No, just lost you. Nope.
Dun 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 dun.
Thank you, ladies, for that intro. Ryan, thanks for having me. I'm Andy Moore. I'm from Miami, Florida, repping Coral Gables office. My story is a little bit different. I think I've been lucky. I really haven't had a lot of buyers ask me to do something unethical per se, other than wanting to visit a house and try to enter on their own using a lockbox code. But I have had a lot of uncomfortable situations. And in one particular, I was still pretty green in the business. This was a few years ago. And I had door knocked around a neighborhood, and I met with a potential seller. It was a man who was living in a pretty decent sized property. And they mentioned that, the house was just too much to maintain. They really wanted to get out of there. They didn't have the energy to take care of it anymore. And I followed up with them for years. So years later, I was still doing what I could just to provide value. I wanted to stay in front of them. I know that it's a relationship business, and I really wanted to start building that relationship. So not only did I send them comparables and try to help them look into other neighborhoods and do research in other neighborhoods in Florida, I would drop by if they were sick and drop off tea. I took them out to lunch one time. I really was going like above and beyond to try to build this relationship. And I found them sometimes to be a little bit strange. I just didn't understand it. Sometimes, depending on what time I would call them, they would act a little bit differently on the phone. And I couldn't really put the pieces together as to why they were acting differently. Until one night, the wife called me. She called me pretty late at night. I didn't pick up, luckily. And she ended up texting me, and she said, the husband and her had gotten into a fight, and she needed to sleep over at my house because her house wasn't safe. And mind you, I've always been a really nice person. Maybe for a second I thought, oh, poor lady. But then a second later I said, no, this is not right. I don't feel comfortable doing this. I really don't know this person. So I firmly but politely apologized and said that I couldn't help her. Yeah, go ahead.
We didn't want you to give the answer yet.
No, this is not
Okay.
the answer. Yeah. Yeah. So no, then the next day, she ended up calling me, and I got the wrath from her. She said that I wasn't there for her when she needed me. She was super disappointed in me. So this is where the poll comes in. I want to ask you guys, how did I handle the situation with these people? What did I do next?
Sorry, I mean, it's like I thought we were going ahead.
No, it's okay.
So there's the poll. If you guys want to go ahead and vote on what Andy did. That's scary.
Dun 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 dun.
Send them to Dr. Phil.
Almost there. We got almost 100 people on this call, so there we go. I wanted to at least get to 50% of the people. All right, we're gonna go ahead and end the poll. So if you want to put your vote in, hurry up and put it now. Wow. So this one's dead even on the last three. We got 14 on the last three. So I'll share the results here. So this is the first one we've had where everybody's kind of split. Andy, what did you do?
Let's see, what did they say? Refer them to another agent, continue to follow up, and close them. I never close them. They still have not sold or purchased. They still probably do not know where to go. But at that time, I recognized that I probably had crossed that fine line of being professional and being a little bit too friendly. So I referred them out to another agent, and they're still in the same house and they haven't done anything. So I think in that I learned, number one, that rather than spending our time on someone who may not respect you as a professional, it's better to just go out and talk to more people and find more leads. We don't need to be desperate in this business, especially if we're in an uncomfortable situation. So
I'm glad you didn't do what Natalie suggested. Invite them over for another sleepover.
Or hug them out.
Hug them out. Howard, personal safety is important, right?
Yeah, it 100% is. And, I mean, I think Annie did everything she possibly could to handle the situation the best way possible. And it's, look, when clients come to us and those, asking, like, would she ask you to stay at your house and everything else? I mean, it's not only is it good for her safety that she didn't, but anytime you open the door to things where you could be brought legally into a situation, like what if she was dealing with some type of abuse or whatever, and then you could be brought into that. We're really careful in our offices to keep that line as segmented as we possibly can. And the other thing is careful what you put in writing and careful what you don't put in writing, and careful what you text, and careful what you put in email, because anything that you do put in writing in those types of scenarios could be brought back to haunt you later down the road. So just something to keep in mind as well with communication with clients, especially in a precarious situation like that.
I'm glad nothing bad had happened. Unfortunately, yes, sometimes, especially with the buyers, it seems like I don't have as many issues with the sellers, at least in my experience, where that line gets crossed as much. But the buyers, it seems like that gets crossed quite often. They want to become your best friends, which is great. However, there's still that line there, being best friends and being sleepover buddies.
Yep.
All right. Thank you so much, Andy.
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, Howard.
Use